Back by popular demand, and he's got the floor all to himself. Here is the evil twin.
Thank you, Jim.
Good to see you, my friend.
Coach, Seattle, Washington reminds me of Budapest, Hungary in the year 1241. The Hungarian Empire had a brand new emperor. Everything was lovely. He thought he knew what a real army looked like. He'd seen all the great armies on the west coast of Europe. And then one Saturday night, Genghis Khan showed up. Brought 15,000 of his Mongol horde. Old Genghis kicked butt, took names, and stole their women. And there was nothing they could do about it. But most of all, they made an example out of the Hungarian Empire to all the other armies on the west coast. This is what happens if you try to stop them on their march to the west coast. So, Coach, I hear Coach Sarkisian over at the University of Washington says, I already know what a champion looks like. I've coached as assistant coach for Southern Cal. That's right. And so to Coach Sarkisian, I tell you this. You have two problems. Number one, me and 15,000 of my closest friends are about to show up. We're going to kick your butt, we're going to take your names, and we're going to steal your women. And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. But most of all, Coach, we're going to make an example out of the University of Washington to all the other teams out there on the West Coast, including USC, that this is what's going to happen to you if you try to stop LSU on its rightful march to Pasadena, California. So why I got to say this to Coach Sarkisian is this. Come next Saturday night, you will learn what a real champion looks like, and you will learn what a real champion's fan base looks like. Coach, I have a question. I would like to know how Ruben Randall and Russell Shepard, our highly prized recruits, are progressing. We know we're very proud of the entire freshman class, but I know there's a lot of talk about those two particular players, so I'd like to get some comments on how they're progressing along.
Wow. How do you follow that, huh?
That's a history lesson that I don't know that I quite get. I mean, I don't know if I can quite. It's a good stretch, but I understand it. Ruben Randall is coming along, very, very talented player. I mentioned him earlier in the broadcast, but he's a he's a guy that definitely deserves to be on the field, and he has to accommodate what we need from him. In other words, we need him to operate a little quicker in some of the things that he does, and but he gets there, he gets on the field, just that simple. And Russell Shepard is an exciting player. And, to me, he's getting better every day, both throwing, running, receiving. So he's a guy that'll take part in plays and not touch the ball, and take part in plays where he touches the ball, and then take part in plays where he is the quarterback. So it's really going to be exciting to see how that all comes together.
All right, Ken, we'll see you in Seattle. Thank you very much. The evil twin, Ken, good to see you.
Thank you, Coach. Coach, you're still a gentleman, and I'm still not. So I want you to know we have all these pundits on the four-letter network trying to tell us how to think about college football. And isn't it ironic that, they don't want to acknowledge the 500-pound gorilla sitting in the middle of the room. They don't want to acknowledge the inconvenient truth. Since they won't, I will tonight. I want to personally congratulate you and your staff for having the #1 recruiting class in America in 2009. And I also want to point out, not only is it the #1 recruited class in America, I also want to point out that we have the only class that signed and had all 24 of its players qualified. So that's not only an indication of the character of the type of recruits that we recruit, but also the character of our coaches and the type of people they want around them. Another thing that I like about our recruiting class is our coach has the only ability in the country to count. Nobody else in the country can count. Our last coach needs to spend more time in the academic center. He signed 33. Last I heard, under NCAA rules, you're only supposed to be able to bring in 25. That's 8 over. We got another SEC team that signed 37. Well, at least we know where the Enron accountants are now employed. And for the couple of players that ended up going to other schools, I got a message for you. If I invite you to my house and I put filet mignon in front of you and I put a can of Spam in front of you and it takes you longer than 10 seconds to figure out what you want, I'm taking the filet mignon away from you because you're too damn stupid to figure out the difference. So those players that left, all I'm going to say is enjoy your orange and enjoy your Spam. Coach, I have a question for you. My question is shorter than the last guy, the calling guy. Coach, first of all, what kind of input do you have in the selection of out-of-conference opponents for scheduling purposes? And if you do have input, what is your criteria for selecting out-of-state, out-of-conference opponents for scheduling?
Somebody in the crowd wants us to take USC, right?
Yeah, that's not South Carolina.
You know what? We're looking for a quality BCS opponent. We're looking for in-state opponents that we provide an opportunity to play in Tiger Stadium and certainly have recruiting roots here. I think there's always a fine balance with too strong an opponent too early. We would like to face the USCs and our best opponents as we are best prepared to play them, which would be late in the season. And the Washington game as a first game, if that would have been sandwiched in between a game, like for instance, we came back and had Monday off. Our guys didn't have to go to school. It gave them the opportunity to catch their rest and get their speed back and really recuperate, if you will. To have that into a middle of a season schedule would have been disaster, just to travel. But no, it's looked at with the want to be competitive. We took the North Carolina game to start next season, and to me, an opportunity to play on the road, to play in a big venue, and get the season started with a real competitive game like this year. To me, our team is advantaged. Our team is advantaged when we go to the next game. We go to the next game. We play on the road. When next we go to Mississippi State, or when we play at Georgia, or when we play at Alabama, the opportunity that have already been on the road and had success, this team's done that. So it's a fine line, and it needs to be a balance. We can't take USCs and Division I, BCS schools that are highly ranked, not on a regular basis. But we're looking for a competitive game that allows for the development of the LSU Tigers.
All right, and thanks to all.
In the words of Shakespeare from 1591, the movie, the play Romeo and Juliet, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, but also crap by any other name would smell as putrid. Evil Twin, The Les Miles Show, 2009. Coach, all I have to say is, you are what you are. No matter what you call yourself, USL, SLI, Southwestern Louisiana, USL, oh heck, why don't you just call yourself the New England Patriots? You're still going to get your butts kicked around Tiger Stadium on Saturday. And now we have a gem from the West. This was a quote at a USL booster group. It says, folks, quote, I'm here to tell you that UL, that's what they're calling themselves right now, and the UL Nation is ready and willing to punch LSU in the mouth like they have never been punched before. Now, Coach, I have a statement to give to this gentleman that addressed the USL Booster Club. In the words of the king in the movie Braveheart, who is this man that gives him the right to speak to me as if he were my equal? Coach, on behalf of the LSU Nation in Acadiana, we're the only ones that don't have an accent. We give you permission to skull drag them around Tiger Stadium in biblical proportions.
Skull drag.
Coach, I have a question. I have a question. How about our two defensive and offensive linemen freshmen, Davenport and Falk? We're hearing some really good reports about them. We know they weren't as highly recruited as some of the upper echelon players, but we're hearing some really outstanding things about them. How are they progressing? I'll hang up and listen.
Both of those guys are really progressing very quickly. Both Falk and Chris Davenport are great prospects, guys in state here that will play a lot of football. We work with Davenport every week down on our end of the field. He gives us a great, he comes off of football, really challenges our offensive line guys. And Falk is going to develop into one of the really good offensive linemen that we've had here, in time. I think both guys certainly at this point are candidates to be redshirted, but, you never can tell.
All right, thank you very much to everybody for letting.
Coach, first of all, on behalf of the LSU Nation from Acadiana, we would like to personally thank you and most especially your goal line defense for ensuring that USL still has not scored a touchdown on LSU since Herbert Hoover was in the White House.
84 years.
Coach, last year there were some Mississippi State people that were kind of talking smack. Well, after 4 years of skull dragging that you've done to them, looks like they've lowered their expectations. So I have a Jim from the state of Mississippi, from a Mississippi State fan, who is talking about his prediction for the game. And he says, I quote, I have a lot of confidence in the Bulldogs in their chances against LSU in Starkville. The Dogs should keep the game close early. Coach, what kind of smack is that? Close early? I thought every game was close early. This is as ridiculous as the Republic of Somalia's tourism department. In 2008, the Republic of Somalia had 0 tourists due to civil war and piracy. And they asked the Minister of Tourism, there is a Minister of Tourism in the Republic of Somalia, and they asked him, why don't you have any tourists? And he said, I don't know why we don't have any tourists. It's not like we kill or kidnap our tourists every day. Sometimes in life, when you deal with crap and you're dealing with poor facts, sometimes you just have to spin it whichever way you can.
I agree.
Coach, I have a question. Pep Livingston, unfortunately, was injured a couple of weeks ago, and I'd like to know, how is he progressing injury-wise, and can we expect him any time on the field anytime soon?
Yeah, I think that it may be something that we need to look into in terms of this week. Certainly, I would expect him for next week. But I think there's still question whether he can play effectively this Saturday.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Here he is. It's all yours, my friend.
Coach, LSU's first president, General William Tecumseh Sherman, passed away 200 years ago, but his words still speak truth today. And I know you probably can relate to General Sherman because General Sherman had issues with the media every now and then. And he also had issues with the state of Georgia, which he tried to burn the damn place down. So I give you a quote from General William Tecumseh Sherman on the media. And he said, and I quote, "If I had my choice, I would kill every reporter in the world, but I'm sure we'd be getting reports from hell before breakfast." Coach, I know you're from the north, but in the south, we got a defense to murder. It's called "He Needed Killing." I have another quote concerning the great state of Georgia. And I quote from General William Tecumseh Sherman, "I intend to make the state of Georgia howl." Well, Coach, on behalf of the people in the south end zone who last year had to witness the Dancing with the Stars routine after the game in which Mr. Noshawn Moreno was dancing, their coaches were dancing, and their entire team was dancing along with their fans following the victory, I would like to speak on behalf of the South End Zone and say, we give you permission to make the state of Georgia howl this weekend.
Well done.
Coach, I have a question. You know, there was a serious injury last week to a critical SEC player. And my question is this. When you have a serious injury to a player, what is the medical procedure for reinstating that player? Is it the doctor's decision? Is it the coach's decision? It is the player's decision. And is there a set procedure that LSU uses to get a player back on the field after you know they've suffered a serious injury?
It's a very difficult issue. It really is. First and foremost, you take the advice of your medical team, and they have a diagnosis. They know how to monitor, and every consideration to the player's safety is taken first. And the decision of whether he plays is the medical responsibility, that team that would advise how to operate him and how he feels and what comes from his heart and who he is. I think those decisions that are being made for Tim Tebow will be made in a very similar way. And I think it will be his health first and foremost, and then how does he feel and can he continue on. And I personally, injury is the worst thing about college football. It's one of the things that make the sport courageous and a pursuit for the strong and not the weak. And so guys that have strong constitutions, they play that football game and they understand the risk of injury. Still, it's a terrible risk, and it's something that no one wants, and no one wants a Tim Tebow to sustain that style injury, or any other player for that matter. I only hope that he heals quickly, that he returns to the playing field, and this will be something that will be done extremely well. It's he'll get the best advice. He will be taken care of. There isn't any question. Coach Meyer and Florida will do exactly the right things with him. And the interesting thing is how these concussions go. It's going to be based on what would be further risk. Okay, and I can tell you that there'll be a point in time where there is no further risk. At this point in time, 8-10 days, a week, whatever it is, there'll be a sign or a medical diagnosis, and one that should be very comfortable to Tim and to Florida. And certainly we wish him the very best.
All right, thank you so much, and we hope you'll come out.
You're still a gentleman, and I'm not. But, Coach, I have a lot of respect for Mark May of ESPN. But before the game last week, Mr. Mark May came up with this gem. He says, quote, Finally, LSU will be exposed for the fraud that they are. So Martin Bay, you said what you got to say, so now I'm going to say what I got to say. LSU ended up beating the University of Georgia at Athens. LSU is now 5-0 and ranked against the number 24th ranked schedule in America. And how dare you, coach, and your team put a turd in their punch bowl by being this week ranked in the top 5 power polls that comprise BCS. LSU's ranked number 1 in all 5. LSU is ranked number 1 or 2 in the BCS in both. So Mr. Martinet, when you say that a fraud will finally be exposed on Saturday, I agree with you. A fraud was, and it was you. Coach, I know you're taking care of the team, and I'm going to tell the fans a thing or two, too. You know, we got a war coming up on Saturday, and last week we had some LSU fans. Most of them, 99% of them, are pretty good. But you know what? We got about 1% of us out here that were getting kind of emotional and was scared. So to you LSU fans that were emotional and scared, I want to tell you something. This is not the Dr. Phil show. We don't care about your damn feelings. Come Saturday, if you're scared, say you're scared, get a dog, stay home, stay in the fetal position, give your ticket to somebody who can emotionally handle it, because it's going to get ugly, it's going to get dirty, it's going to get nasty. We need 91,000 to mean speakers. And coach, I want to tell you another thing. We got Mr. Tyler Perrella out here, 9 years old, who's at your show every day. He's right there. I want you to know that an oak tree tackled him today. And I want you to know that he's already told his neurologist, I'm coming to the Les Miles show, and I will be in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. Tigers are not sheep. Sheep need leaders. Tigers know what to do. 91,000, do your damn job. Coach, I have a question. One thing our fans have complained about year after year, and especially our fans who went to Georgia, is the fact that now more and more SEC stadiums are putting 1,500 people in the lower level, and they're putting 6,000 people in the upper deck. LSU is one of the few stadiums that puts 7,000 fans in the lower deck, which basically creates a home field advantage at times. I sit in the south end zone. I've heard LSU is talking about possibly dispersing that bunch below me. And I would like to know if you have an opinion, or if you've given an opinion to Mr. Oliva, who I've heard may be making some changes.
Well, I can tell you that, first of all, the group of LSU fans that traveled to Georgia and really they stood right across from the team in the upper deck, and you could hear them and see them, and our team was proud of their contribution to that day. I can tell you that.
In his hand.
Coach, just a little bit of temporary setback for us, but I have a quote for you. It says, quote, one's character is not revealed in times of ease or comfort. Rather, it is revealed during times of trials and difficulties. And you know, whether we're fans or whether we're coaches or whether we're players, our true character is revealed in adverse times. So, you know, all I'm going to say is this. How we react, some people react to adversity, they run away and they get scared. And some people, they react to adversity by just becoming toxic and negative about everything. But you know what? True character end up in adverse times, and they lead. And when people don't lead, you grab them by the damn throat and drag them to where they need to go. And so for all those people out there in media land saying that LSU doesn't have the character to overcome what has happened this last weekend, I'm going to tell them this. Maybe you haven't been paying attention for the last 6 weeks. Maybe you haven't been paying attention when the first 5 weeks our team was ragged and negative things were said of them, yet they still found ways to win. Maybe they didn't see the character in our team when we were down with 1 minute and 9 seconds at Georgia, and we rolled down the field in 3 plays. You know, there was another team on that day, Georgia. They didn't show that character. They got excuses. We pulled it off. But most of all, Coach, you know why? Where I see character was last Saturday night when that thug operation from Florida was stomping our logo. Our team stood up and said, "You're not going to disgrace our university." That's what you call character, and that's what you call good people. Coach, I have a question. Unfortunately, Jim took my question earlier, so I have this to ask. About the evaluation of players, I know that's an ongoing process whether you win or lose, but what is the process like for each individual player? Is it done based on film? Is it done by the individual coaches? Do y'all have meetings? And if a change has to be made, what is that process like? Every time we watch, every time we have a practice for that matter, evaluations take place. And they're done, like for instance, today's practice, we probably went, 25 plays against our own defense and, obviously our defense against our own offense. And so we're tested. And those evaluations are ongoing. And then when we play games, every player gets a grade sheet. Every coach grades his individual position. Every coordinator oversees that grading. I oversee the coordinators, and if there's a question about who's best and who's playing, generally I bring that up. And Coach, you're still a gentleman, but it's Auburn week, and I'm still not. Auburn, Alabama is an Indian word. It means, what the hell are we doing out here? They're the Tigers. They're all kinds of names. There's the Tigers, the War Chickens, they're the Plainsmen. But Coach, one thing I want to give them a new name this week. Because, after 2 embarrassing losses, they've scattered. The lights on in the kitchen. I propose we call them the Cockroaches. But I tell you what, Coach, we got 91,000 LSU fans that are going to chase them under that refrigerator. Because you know why? Just like the movie says, Auburn, we know what you did last summer. You see, Auburn, you're the ones that were dancing on our logo. And you were the ones that ran up the score not once but twice on us after the score was well over. And you were the ones that showed up in Tiger Stadium and blew cigar smoke in our end zones. And you were the ones that also assaulted our band member. So what I'm going to say, Auburn, is this. All we're going to say is the exterminator will be out, and we will take out the cockroaches. Coach, I have a question. I have a question about 2 players that we're hearing are injured, Akeem Hicks and also Craig Lawson. Both of them we hear are injured. Want to know what their status is? Are your plans to redshirt them? Or your plans to get them back on the field this year? And how well they're progressing?
both guys are, at this point, we're planning to redshirt. And
here is the evil twin. You've got the microphone.
Coach, week in and week out, I bring a quote, a gem from the opposing side, but this time I have found a diamond. I have a Tulane fan who on an internet site 1 month ago, before LSU played Georgia, gives us this, and I quote, "I like Tulane's chances against LSU. LSU will lose to Georgia. Coach Miles will lose his team. LSU will be 0-3 going into the game. The Wave will be 3-0 going into the game. And the Wave fans will take over Tiger Stadium." Coach, first of all, don't you have to take over your own stadium first before you take over somebody else's? This is like Portugal declaring war on the United States. And then threatening to occupy New York City. Coach, I don't know whether to laugh at them because, you know, all the Portuguese can do is hit with you with a dry fish. But, you know, one thing we won't tolerate is them taking over Tiger Stadium. And so I believe we should skull drag them on that general principle alone. Can I have a hell yes from the audience? Coach, I have a question.
Wow.
Derek Hilton has been injured. He has a hip problem. And what I'd like to know is what is his health status for the LSU game coming up against Tulane? Can we expect him back anytime soon? And if he doesn't come back anytime soon, who do we expect to take his place in holding the field goal kicks?
He took snaps today. I think he's improving, you know, with the.
Not least, here he is, the evil twin.
Coach, you're a gentleman, but I'm definitely not this week. All I'm going to say is this. Mr. Mike Slive can penalize coaches and fine them $30,000 for telling the truth, but he can't fine me because I live in the greatest country in the world today thanks to those veterans. Mr. Mike Slive, a couple of years ago, I said he lacked integrity. I was wrong. It's nothing but a fraud. Last Saturday, all we saw was professional wrestling. We need to rename him Vince McMahon for that show they put on. And we have to get into explaining the stupidity and the ridiculousness of this. But I have an explanation as to why our boy Patrick Peterson didn't catch it. Because they need an exterminator over there in Tuscaloosa. Because obviously they got a gopher problem that's throwing up the grass as he's running along. And then to top off to the stupidity, what do we get? We get Nick Saban. Nick Saban defending the honor of the SEC officials and telling us, oh my goodness, that Alabama doesn't get preferential treatment. Well, Nick Saban, all I got to say is this. You made a mistake. 5 years I heard you speak. And you know what? That wasn't what you were saying 5 years ago when you were the coach at LSU. And so, Mr. Mike Slive, I have this to tell you. Send me the bill and send me your home address. Because I got a couple of deposits I want to send back to you. Coach, I have a question. I need to know what is the injury status of Jordan Jefferson, our tight end, Mr. Dixon, and of course T-Bob Hebert, our only LSU Tiger starter that doesn't have an accent.
T-Bob practiced today and gave us some reps and is getting better. Jordan Jefferson took snaps and made some throws, and not a full practice, but maybe we'll introduce him to more tomorrow. And Dixon did not practice.
Stand by, hang on. We've got the evil twin. Good to see you, buddy.
Coach, you know, when you think of great architectural mysteries of the universe, you think of Stonehenge, you think of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, you think of the Great Pyramids of Giza. But I submit to you, the greatest architectural mystery is found in Oxford, Mississippi. It's found because in Oxford, Mississippi, they have a walk of champions. These people haven't been champions since Kennedy was president. For 50 years, Ole Miss, they have this great team. All of a sudden, all to come crashing down. Year in and year out, they have this great team. It's crashing down. You know, Coach, it reminds me when we went to the schoolyard and they had a fat kid on a unicycle. And you watched that kid, and you had to watch that kid because you know what? You knew sooner or later he was going to crash and fall down, and you were going to laugh and entertain yourself with the whole incident. So, Coach, all I got to tell is Ole Miss and Houston Nutt, come this Saturday, we ain't waiting for you to fall off your damn unicycle. We getting ready to kick you off. Can I have a hell yes? Coach, I have a question. LeVar Edwards replaced Raheem Alim as the starting defensive end. And so what I want to know is that a permanent replacement or is that just a temporary thing for that particular game?
It had to do with that game and those specifics. I think LeVar Edwards is really getting better, and we can expect to see him play a lot of football, and we'll play a lot of
who has really added a lot of color and excitement to the show all year long. How about a nice round of applause for the evil twin who is at the microphone?
Coach, 500 years ago on this very day and this very spot, Spanish conquistador Pánfilo Narváez arrived, seeking fame and fortune with 600 of his conquistadors. They arrived here and thought they were coming to the magical kingdom. All they got was their butts whipped by the local southern native tribes. They were beaten so badly, there were only 4 survivors that were found a half a continent away, buck naked in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. So what I tell Joe Paul and Penn State is this. You come here to Central Florida seeking fame and fortune, and you better pray to God the same fate that happened to Pánfilo 500 years ago happens to you, because when Les Miles, when the LSU Tigers, and when the 15,000 LSU fans get through with you, we ain't leaving 4 survivors. I've been listening to all these people say, we are Penn State. They must be seniors. They know who they are. I know who I am. I don't have to tell you who I am. Coach, I have a question. I've been to 4 bowl games in a row with you, and you have wiped the mat with the last 4 opponents. And I know, Coach, different coaches have different ideas about things. You know, my last coach, you know, the last cornerback defensive coach that really screwed up that last bowl game over here, thank God he's not here anymore. Coach, you did a great job 4 years in a row, and what I want to ask you is, what is the secret to mixing and matching, and what's the formula for success in bowl games, and how do you prepare your team differently for bowl games? It seems to work.
I don't know that there's any magic. I think the real advantage is to be the head coach at LSU. That in fact the teams that we put on the field are mature, understand why you go to a bowl. You go to a bowl to enjoy the local scenery and the fun, and you get the advantage of being in Florida certainly. But you really go to play and win. And I think our teams have understood that. I don't know that there's anything more magical than that. That in fact that the significance is taking the field with LSU.
Thank you, Coach. Happy New Year.
And thanks to everybody for stepping up to the mic all year long. Kent, thank